working through all the accessories that come with the beautiful BERNINA L890 Serger, and just give you a quick overview of what they are for, and then as we go into the video tutorials, you'll see me using them throughout the videos of the different stitches that they're designed to be used for. So you do have some things that I've already put on the machine, like the thread catcher, and once you actually take it off, you are going to find additional accessories right here in the front door. Those are the ones I'm always reaching for, and BERNINA has always been known to put the ones I need right at my fingertips. So that is one place. You have probably already pulled out or realized that you have a small tin and a large tin. So in no particular order today, I'm going to just kind of open and walk you through what we're finding in here. So needles. We're going to talk a little bit about serger needles, which ones you need specifically for serging or cover stitching and why, but you do get a nice little variety pack to get you started. We have the BERNINA oil. There is a place on this machine that needs to be oiled. Just make sure, and there's always a little note here, these are not oil holes. Those of course are where your thread is going to get sucked through the machine, so definitely don't put oil in there. But just like any machine, as it gets linty, you have to scoop out the lint, brush it out, don't blow it in, no canned air, but then there's a little place to actually oil. So oil is included. There is also a time and place to clean these air tubes out, and there is a piece that will help kind of drag a little something through and just kind of give it a little clear. There is something kind of all wrapped up right there to help with that particular case. We do have another foot in here. We are going to go over what this foot is, different than the traditional one. We have a screwdriver. This one is designed for the short one. You might recognize if you own a BERNINA, that is a needle screw adjustment on a sewing machine, but not in this case. We have two screws that would remove the throat plate for also cleaning. That is what it is kept for, but you know what? People are always losing this, so now you actually might have two of them. All right, this little tool, it's kind of a fun little shape. It's kind of got a little hook on it. We will use this when we're doing the cover stitch, and it's a great little way to create the lock at the end. So it's a very, if you haven't figured out how this little guy is to be used, we will show it in the cover stitch videos. All right, so what is in the other 10? We have some other pieces. Now, I do have some of these already underneath the cone holders. Not required, but sometimes those cones do get a little jiggly, and this can actually go up through the cone and then stabilize it more when it sits onto this spindle here. Just note that if you can't find them, they're probably stuck inside one of your cones. So just note that they sometimes get pushed up there. Then we're going to talk about using spools that are not cones, such as like a traditional spool of thread. Then we have spool caps that will hold them in place so not to kind of be pulled or jumped off of where they're supposed to be kept. So these are little additional caps. You'll have a whole bunch of them. You also see that there are thread nets down in here, multiple ones for all your spools. Now, I will tell you, traditionally, if you're using like a cotton or a polyester thread that's not slippery, I don't need a thread net. Sometimes you might run into a spool that is a slippery thread, such as a rayon. Sometimes rayon thread wants to just slide down and puddle at the bottom. And you can actually take a thread net and slide it over the entire cone. Sometimes I do this with metallic threads too. It kind of keeps them from becoming oh so ugly in their use. But see how it just sits over it, and then the thread just needs to come out the top here. But what it'll do is keep it from any thread falling off the cone. So you might not use these a lot. I don't know the last time I used one. Well, it was probably one of those weird metallic threads that I needed it for. So just note that those are available. Keep them close by. You never know when you need them, but you have them in here. Here is an odd looking piece. This piece is designed to actually be a seam guide. So it will attach, so it will give you a guide to keep your fabric always feeding at the same seam allowance. So I'll show you how that clips on in a very unique way. So just know that you've got all sorts of goodies down in here. You will find that you need this piece when you cover stitch. So right now we have kind of a piece sitting and covering up the front where the knife goes up and down. Well, when we switch from serger to cover stitch, this piece makes the serger turn into more of a bed of a machine. So just note that this needs to stay with your machine. It is key. And then, of course, the blade and the upper looper are pushed down so they don't actually come up and touch this. They're lowered, and then everything works kind of more like, not like a sewing machine, but like a sewing machine when you're in the cover stitch mode. So that is part of your machine. We will also show you when and where you will want the freehand system. That does plug in to the front part of the machine right here. And this is to be able to let you lift and lower the presser foot with your right knee. So if you've ever needed 3 hands, well, here's your extra hand just waiting for you to attach it and use it. If you haven't used one of those before, I really recommend that you give it a try. Give it some time to be on the machine, you practice using it, and then see if that is something that you will use. Usually most people say yes. All right, there is a slide-on table with this machine. You will probably see me mostly just leaving this machine set up traditionally sized, but if you slide off this piece, it provides you first a free arm of the machine, but that's also how this attaches. So you need to take off that piece first, just guide it evenly with the rest of the machine, and it will click into place just like that, and it will extend the work surface while you're serging, especially if you have heavier projects. Okay, let's go back in here. Let's look inside what you have. You have the best quality tweezers I've ever used. They are very sharp and pointed, so those have a place. You have a screwdriver. This is the one that you're always going to reach for when you're switching out your needles. It's the one that fits in all the needle holes at the top. I am going to show you the next one in a whole separate video. This is not only a needle threader, but it's also a way to catch the needle. Once you go to loosen it, it'll drop into this little tool. Also will help, so if you have trouble getting your hands inside there, you can easily just do it all from the front of the machine. Gently loosen, it drops in here, and then you can also use it to help insert and make sure the needle gets all the way as high as it will go. But the needle threader is ideal in that use there. Plus the brush, so you're always in here cleaning. Again, don't blow in here and don't use canned air. You're always needing to brush it out, pull it out, and there's a place for that brush to live right at that place. Extra needles can always be kind of stored right here. And there's actually, I'm gonna just point it out because we're right inside. These little foam pads would be like where if I have removed a needle to go from a 4-thread to a 3-thread, this, you can just, they're like little mini pin cushions, and you can just set your needle in there, and then that will not interfere when the door is closed. Speaking of closing the door, if the door doesn't get all the way closed, the machine will not run. Great safety tip for that. Or if you don't have everything in place and it doesn't close, that's also a clue to make sure everything is where it's ready to go. The last accessory I had forgotten is actually already semi-magnetized to the side of the machine, and that's the Bernina stylus. So it's always good to use the stylus to touch your screen, but when it's not in use, you can just kind of bring it near the edge, and there is a place right here where there is a magnet, and it will hold it. I will recommend, though, if you are traveling with your serger, is to make sure this is stored away in one of your accessory tins, because it will probably get bumped off, and who knows where it'll end up when you get to your destination. I think you're gonna love seeing all the accessories in use, so I hope if you are looking for all the video tutorials on the BERNINA L890 serger, you can click those links below and you can get back to the very first one and kind of binge watch them from the beginning once we have them all in the YouTube playlist. We also have some other serger videos for you to check out. Also down below in the Craftsy classes, which I love. I do have a Craftsy serger class. Click on that and you can kind of watch a little movie trailer of what that class is all about, and hopefully you'll join me over there for additional education that you can use this beautiful serger for. All right, are we ready to get started? Let's do it. So just note that you will always have that right at your fingertips, and I love that little magnetic part that they have added to the side of the machine.